Today is August the 24th. When Jesus says, love one another, what does he really mean? Let's find out together as we study Jesus' words and the source of his words in the Old Testament. So Mark 12:31 is a pretty famous passage. A young man comes to Jesus, asks him, what's the greatest commandment? And he says, love God, love your neighbor. And when he says that, love your neighbor as yourself, no other commandment is greater than these. In the book of John, Jesus in chapter 12 says, I give you a new commandment, love one another. Now, that is the same command that he's been giving them, but he gives it a new focus, a new emphasis. That was John 13:34. Then just a couple of chapters later, as he talks about the true vine, he repeats it, John 15, verse 12. This is my commandment. Love each other in the same way that I've loved you. And then again in verse 17, this is my command, love each other. Now when Jesus says, love your neighbor as yourself, he says this is found in the Old Testament. Did you ever take the time to go back to the Old Testament and look at what it was that Jesus was quoting? Well, I did, and I was surprised by what I found. In the book of Leviticus, we get this command. This occurs in Leviticus chapter 19, verse 18. Looking at verse 18, Jesus says, don't seek revenge or bear a grudge against a fellow Israelite, but love your neighbor as yourself. I'm the Lord. Now, do you remember, I've mentioned before that Jesus didn't carry around a Bible like we do with chapter and verse, so that when he was quoting something, he could go right to it and say, oh, here it is. He likely didn't even own a scripture of the Old Testament, an Old Testament like we have it. Most synagogues didn't own the entire Old Testament. They would pool their money and they would buy very, very expensive scrolls. Each synagogue would certainly have all of the Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible, and they would have other selections as they were able to buy them, and they would read from them. So Jesus is quoting from memory. Now Leviticus 19, the entire chapter, is what probably came to Jesus's mind. Leviticus 19 begins this way. The Lord said to Moses, give the following instructions to the entire community of Israel. You must be holy because I, the Lord your God, am holy. And then look what he says. Verse 3, show respect for your mother and father. Verse 4, don't put your trust in idols or make metal images of gods for yourselves. Verse 5 through about verse 10 are commandments about the offerings that they would make in the temple. Verse 11, don't steal, don't deceive, don't cheat. Verse 12, don't bring shame on the name of the Lord by using it to swear falsely. Verse 13, don't rob your neighbor. Don't make your hired workers work one day but wait till the next day to be paid. Verse 14, don't insult the deaf or cause the blind to stumble. Verse 15, don't twist justice in legal matters. Verse 16, don't gossip. Don't stand idly by when your neighbor's life is threatened. Verse 17, don't nurse hatred in your heart for any of your relatives. Confront people directly so you won't be held guilty for their sin. Do you catch what's going on here? In all of this, Jesus is quoting a passage when he says, love your neighbor, that talks about the way you treat your neighbor. You treat them with justice. You treat them with honor and with respect. Love, when Jesus says love your neighbor, is not a gushy emotion. It's filled with actions. What we do with others, how we behave when we're around them, the honor with which we treat them, the justice with which we treat them. When Jesus says, love your neighbor as yourself, he's kind of saying the golden rule. Do to them what you want them to do to you. Treat them with respect. Treat them with honor. Behave around them in appropriate ways. Simple morality. Treat them well. That's what it means to love your neighbor. Like, follow, and subscribe to this podcast on whatever platform you used to listen to it. Email your questions to us at questions@becomehope.com. Tomorrow, we'll answer the question, am I my brother's keeper?